Hey, everybody. We are back for the West Coast Preps podcast. We've got another full weekend of football coming up. I am Chris Jackson, joined here by Noah Glosson. Got a fun one, and we're going to go into some fun stuff right away. We're going to go into Athlete of the Year consideration again, some game predictions, looking at some of the big games this week. There's a story on that at westcoastpreps.com right now. But first, we're almost halfway through this season. I know they are in the 707 in Fairfield and Vacaville, but the rest of the Bay Area is almost about to be. So we're going to kind of take a look at Coach of the Year candidates in our top, I guess, front runners halfway through the season. Noah, you got any coaches that really stand out to you thus far?
It's got to be Kennedy's Greg Marshall for sure. Kennedy went 0-10 last year, had a win this year. They've been through so much adversity, but Greg Marshall's a great coach with what he's done over there in Richmond. He's led them to a very solid start. They've got some great athletes. Alvanti Galton, though, he deserves to play Division I football. He's a great talent. DeAndre Prim is another great athlete. And the way he's just developed this talent has been exemplary. It's been impressive. He's got the right tools, and they're building a good culture over there at Candy again. And they have a good history of football in Richmond over there.
Yeah, they do. They've won some big games. They've been to NCS championships. Marshall's definitely run a great program there. I know there's a lot of coaches that really respect him. What they're doing this year, unbeaten, some big wins, the way they're playing on both sides of the football right now, you got to think. That's one coach. I'm going to go into that region again. Not Richmond's, not in that city, but right by it. El Cerrito's head coach, Jacob Rincon. They've beaten everybody so far, and their defense is playing lights out, held Foothill to 7, and we're going to do a field goal. You see what they're doing every single game. They're 4-0 against the great schedule. Freedom, O'Dowd, Amador, Foothill are all the wins, and they're not even to league play yet, and they just keep jumping up these Bay Area football rankings, and I know you've already seen El Cerrito this season.
Yeah, El Cerrito looked really sharp in their win over Foothill. Early on, it was kind of hard for them, but as Warren Smith said, they just went back to the sideline, adjusted, and they scored 27 unanswered points. They defeated Freedom easily, 27-13. Warren Smith, a very tough defensive back, doesn't give an inch. There's a reason he's committed to Washington State. Tony McAdoo is a really good running back, and they're just growing over there like they always do. That defense is always really tough. They've seen it this year. They're holding opponents to less than 6 points a game, only 23 points overall and 4 opponents. This is a really exciting football team. This is a team that made it to the NCS semifinals last year, almost knocked off the number 1 seed Windsor, but El Cerrito is really good in that area again.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and that defense every single year. El Cerrito's got that defense. Quarterback plays looking good. Their running back plays looking good. Receivers, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, secondary. Everything's clicking. I see no reason why El Cerrito can't win out and go into the playoffs as the favorite in NCS Division III this year. They were so close last year. They said that trip home from Windsor really sucked, is just the way to put it. Now they're coming back better than ever. And I think this is one of El Cerrito's best teams in school history. And even as long as Rincon's head coach, El Cerrito's not going anywhere. But another program, we've highlighted them a bunch, but another head coach that's definitely got to be in the running, Dave Fogelstrom from Heritage. 4-0, the best start there in 5 seasons. They just put a licking on Vintage too. 41-0. Devin Rivers, 9 yards shy of 1,000, but it's not just Rivers stepping up at Heritage either under Coach Fogey.
No, it's not. They've got guys like Austin Peters, Jeremiah Ruffin, great two-way player, a freak of an athlete. And I like the energy they have in, good receivers. They've got a good running back. They've got a good quarterback. They're all clicking, smart plays. Line play, we've highlighted them before. It's been really terrific. They're now averaging 10 yards a carry. It's ridiculous how much they've grown. The energy is there from the school, the fans, the parents, the players too, and even the head coach with that new identity that they're just growing upwards. And you think about in the future that it's going to be downhill after this loss of 23 class, but no, it's just going to be upwards with that culture they have at Heritage.
Yeah, the offensive line's doing a great job. They've got everybody bought in. We've mentioned the weight room, the early days, all that, but it's clicking there. And then, of course, you got to mention Patrick Walsh of Sarah, beaten De La Salle. They've beaten Folsom. They've done all these big things. And once again, This guy's just a genius. There's no other way to put it. It doesn't matter who's there, the guys they've got, players they have to replace. Sarah's just at the top, and that's now the new class of Bay Area high school football.
Yeah, they easily are with Patrick Walsh. The way he just adapts and adjusts is really impressive. We saw what he did against Folsom with the way, his players were dropping like flies, but he was able to adjust just fine and beat a tough Folsom team, holding them to a touchdown. And usually to beat Folsom, you have to, put a licking on them on the scoreboard, but they didn't do that. They just went back to their defense. They changed it up a little bit with their offense, and they adjusted and they won.
Yeah, it's just these adjustments he makes every game. He ran that Clayton Valley kind of offense one game. They go to De La Salle, they win that with a different type of offense than they ran at Folsom. It's everything's cooking there. Patrick Walsh, he's also the guy, let's not forget, that brought back high school football in California, one of the leaders of that with Justin Allenbaugh, some other key figures, brought that to the state legislators, got high school athletics and youth athletics to return to California. And then how about in Sonoma County in Petaluma, Trent Herzog at St. Vincent de Paul right now, doing a fantastic job as always. He was a great head coach at Casa Grande. Now he's at St. Vincent de Paul, winning once again, 4-0, beat St. Bernard's, beat St. Helena, just won NCS for the first time in 13 years last year. Now they're 4-0, and they've beaten some really great teams. They've got Kai Hall, they've got Jared Bosarch, great offensive line and great defense, great coaching staff, and the Mustangs are quickly rising up the charts in Sonoma County, and it might not be too long before maybe they hit these Bay Area football rankings.
Yeah, for sure. They won NCS last year. They run a good offense. They have good defense, good energy there for sure. Kai Hall is having a great career, and like you said, Herzog moved over from Casa Grande. He's done a great job with leading this program. And I can't see anywhere else they can go but up, especially with the talent they've got. Kai Hall, like I've mentioned, Cam Vaughn, and the line play, solid.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch what they've done, even what they did against St. Helena. I know Paul Gregorian, defensive guy there, line guy there. He was always stressed. He's always stressed in St. Helena with the way they just run that veer attack like De La Salle, right? They're just disciplined. They get up quick. They push your lineman back, and he wasn't going to let that happen. They wall up St. Helena. It took until I think 1 or 2 minutes left for them to win that game. And another one too, I kind of want to go into Sacred Heart Prep a little bit. They're on a 3-game winning streak, just beat Reardon, put the running clock on Archbishop Reardon too. It took until a minute left with backup saying a running clock for Sacred Heart Prep to even allow a score against Archbishop Reardon. Now they've won 3 straight, and they're in the Bay Area football rankings once again.
It's just a testament to how good that defense really is, holding an explosive offense like Reardon's to just, no points, putting them around a running clock. You think about Michael Mitchell, he's wise beyond his years, high football IQ, very smart kid, and that defense just shut him down. They were very effective. Carter Shaw deserves to play Division I football, son of the Stanford head coach at Stanford. And that defense, with Shea O'Kelly and all those guys, it's just really a solid unit. They held Sacred Heart Cathedral to 1 score, and they lost that game, but just showed to go how good that defense is. It was really good last year, and it's really good this year.
Yeah, it really is what they've done, both sides of the football. Andrew Latu is a great running back. He's getting 100 yards a game. Mitchell Taylor is a smart quarterback. Booth Maxwell, Brandon Sane, that line, that defensive line. If you Buffington, you've got RJ Stevens, that secondary. You got Shea O'Kelly at linebacker, just 10 tackles for loss through 4 games. You know how crazy that is after having 109 total tackles a year ago. This guy needs more offers. Just I don't know what's going on with that, but Shea O'Kelly's a guy you need to start offering. How about in Livermore as well? John Wade, Livermore is 4-0. They've got guys leading the NCS, and if they're not leading the NCS in these statistical categories, they're right near it. And John Wade's got Livermore football buzzing in. You've got to think they're a contender in the EVAL Valley this year.
Absolutely, especially with everything that's going on. Trudeau's a great quarterback out there. He's thrown 10 touchdowns. There's no interception. Hodgers is a great running back. He has 569 yards and 5 touchdowns. And Johnson really, really good in the aerial, in the slot, 7 touchdowns, 416 yards. You gotta like what they're doing out there in Livermore.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Livermore football's changing. They got these great new facilities, a great head coach, great coaching staff. Almost why wouldn't you want to be a Cowboy nowadays? Is the way it seems. Tyler Trudeau is playing amazing football at quarterback, a really good arm. It wouldn't shock me if he starts getting some offers soon, especially with midseason film piling on. Elijah Hodgers, a great running back. Dominic Johnson's really burst onto the scene at receiver. Got good line play. Ashton Boswell's a college prospect up there. Damon Miller's a great tight end. Makai Shepard's playing well as an athlete there too. Livermore is one of those programs. And then 2 more I kind of want to get into. San Ramon Valley's 3-0 and really making a lot of noise. And then this is one you guys might not be expecting, but I think they deserve some love. Alameda High School last year won 2 total games. This year they're 2-1-1. Already matched last year's win total. They've won some good games. They've beaten some solid teams. For their level, Alameda's doing a good job. And going into the Island Bowl, it's been a while since you could really say going into the NCNL game that Alameda's probably the favorite. And I know it's been a long time for people in that town to really say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alameda and Ensenal, great athletes out there. 2 good teams. I know that, Ensenal's had some adversity. Their head coach leaving, Keith Miner. He was a great coach in that league, leading them to titles and into the NCS playoffs and whatnot. But you got to like what Alameda is doing, the way they're growing after last season. What they've got is really something special. So I think they can definitely win the Island Bowl for the first time in quite some time.
Yeah, what they're doing. You got AJ Parker's a great athlete, running back, defensive guy, everything. That's someone that I believe is going to play Division I football. They've got some good line play this year. It's different there. They're doing a good job. I know Alameda's also, they voted on in that city to get new facilities at the high schools, get new fields, bleachers, I believe, as well. So that should be big stuff for those programs in Alameda and Ensenal as well to get more kids to want to join football in that city. Then San Ramon Valley too, 3-0, prolific offense, never scored less than 35 points in a game this season. And it's not like SRV's playing any slouches in its non-league schedule so far.
No, not at all. I mean, Los Alamos, you look at the record, but it's deceiving. They played some tough teams. They beat Elk Grove. They put a licking on Vintage 41-7. Luke Baker's looked pretty sharp, big shoes to replace. Jack Quigley's, Contra Costa College. We know that Tyler Hoffman graduated. Zadarian Nardi was a great running back. And receivers, you've got Salisbury, all those guys you have to replace. But I'm really impressed with what this program has and the resilience of this program. Them and California, they've been 2 teams that on paper look like they're ready for a step back, but they've stayed with it and they are consistent fighters and they're resilient. And I got to respect that about both programs.
Yeah, Danny Calcagno, Cal's another name that we can't forget. They're 3-1. They just picked up a big one in Antioch. You lose Teddy Boris, you lose Jay Calcagno, you lose a 1,000-yard rusher as well, and Trevor Runs. You come right back, and you've got Teddy's younger brother. You've got another Calcagno and Josh stepping up in big ways. Stavi Boris, Shaden Macedo has been a great quarterback. Devin Love's a great running back. And it's not easy what he's done there, because before him, Eric Belici did a great job running that I formation, these heavy sets, big dudes up front, just gashing you in the run game for years, won them some league titles. Calcagno takes over not too long into it either. COVID hits. You got to teach a whole new offense, spread, air raid kind of stuff a little bit. Their terminology is way different. They're running no huddle all the time. They're going a lot faster. It's way different. Look at what they've done last year, NCS semis, the year before. You might look at the record. It wasn't a winning record. Don't forget it was COVID, a shortened season. You play Acalanes and non-league. You play a great EBAL schedule. Now in year 3, they're 3-1, and they're another contender in that side of the East Bay Athletic League.
Yeah, I mean, that 2-4 season, a lot of people can put it away as a wash. You lose to Acalanes by a field goal that was off by just barely off. And you play in the EBAL schedule that's really always tough. Monte Vista, all those players in there, but you gotta like what they have over there, especially with that transition from the I formation to the spread, airing it out. We saw that last year on display. Calcagno and Teddy Burras, with the way they formed that connection, it was a very electric connection, and I think they're going to continue it. And I like what they've got.
And how about some athlete of the year, guys? We're gonna get more of that stuff up next week on the website too. But why don't you kind of go more into some athlete of the year candidates that you've really got your eye on now going into this big weekend of Bay Area football?
Right, right. As we know, I debuted the athlete of the year earlier this month, and we'll get into some of them, the obvious names, but let's start with one, Luke Duncan. I was really impressed with what he did against Oakdale in that shootout of a game, that fireworks show. He had 5 touchdowns, over 420 passing yards. I think he has, I believe, 14 or 15 touchdowns against just 1 interception this season. Really impressive quarterback. Yeah, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception. They've got and Bennett Destino, Thomas Wilson, 2 great running backs. Ethan Conley's a great receiver. He was a stud against Oakdale. Over 9 catches, 235 yards, 4 touchdowns. Just really impressive what they're doing at Miramani, and they should get back on track and be competitive in league. I'm shooting them for the 3rd spot in league.
Yeah, with that league, the way these teams are, Lackalani's has a great roster. You've got Camp Lindo, very well coached as always with Kevin Macy, a great roster as well. Miramonte's probably that number 3 team, and again, that's not a bad thing there. Miramonte's going to be one of the favorites in NCS as well. They're going to be a competitor, especially when you've got a quarterback, a 6'5" guy like Luke Duncan going to UCLA. Ethan Conley, I'm glad you mentioned him. That's a competitive dude, and he is one phenomenal athlete. I know they did not want to lose that game to Oakdale, but that production he put up is second to none. What both he and Luke Duncan did in that game.
Yeah, and it was the first game really burst onto the scene of this season. His athleticism is really impressive. The way he's able to get open and create space, it's something else. And he's a great target for Luke Duncan. I know you lose, Tyler Dudo, that great receiver, great athlete all around, especially on the basketball court too. You have some pieces to replace, but I think Miramoni's done a satisfiable job with doing that.
Yes, they have. And another player, we just mentioned him earlier, talking about heritage, but Devin Rivers has to be in the conversation as well. Fresno State commit, doing what his older brother has done, his father has done. I was at 991 yards through 4 games, and that game was a blowout. If he got one more carry, what he was averaging, he probably hits 1,000 in week 4.
Yeah, it's just crazy at the pace he's going. We'll have to see if it continues. He's going to face a tough BVAL schedule, but even then, it does seem like he'll get to 2,000 yards by the season's end. That's going to be impressive, averaging 200 yards a carry. He's the all-time leading rusher, first to cross over 3,000 yards. It's pretty amazing what he's doing. He's doing special things at Heritage.
Yes, he is. He's having one fantastic season. I'm going to go into a sleeper prospect as well, someone I think might be in the running. Jackson Harris at Berkeley. He's fast, he's big, he's still kind of newer to football, and he's top 25 in the state in receiving at 540 yards through 4 games. He's got 11 touchdowns. This dude's averaging, 27 yards per catch right now. Those are some fantastic numbers. He's big enough to play college football. He's fast enough. He's got the athleticism. He's got everything to play Division I football.
He's got the speed. He's got the talent. They have a new coach. They're rebuilding that culture there. It's been tough over the past few years, but then again, Berkeley has good athletes. Like we know that Harris, great receiver, and you're kind of testing the quarterback situation. But you got guys like Henderson, who has 14 touchdowns against 3 interceptions. Drew Henderson's a good quarterback, and he should be an interesting player over the next few games, especially heading into that league.
Yeah, Berkeley's going to be a fun one to watch. David Perry's a proven winner, a former coach of the year when he was at O'Dowd, his first season when he was at O'Dowd as well. Now at Berkeley, that's a city that's got a really great storied history of football and athletics. I think it's a matter of time before Berkeley starts winning again. And heck, maybe this is the year when they start getting back and start getting near the top of what they've done so far. It's looking like it. They've got Castro Valley this Friday. Then another one, I know you want to get into him more. You've seen him. So I lost Savannah Walleye, both sides of the ball. That dude's just an animal. There's probably no other way to put it, but maybe you can describe it better than I can.
Great fluid hip transition, the way he's able to get into the defensive position. Great athlete, good size, is really a ball hawk in all facets of the game, whether it be receiver, it be in the slot, it'd be on special teams with that scoop and score I saw against Los Lomas. He's a special athlete, and Cal's getting a really good defensive back end prospect.
Yes, they are. What he can do on both sides of the football, he's a touchdown threat every time he's line up a receiver. He's an interception threat anytime he's a defensive back. He's a fun one to watch in Sonoma County. So if you haven't already made that trip to Roanoke Park to watch that also Savannah Walleye, trust me, it's worth the price of admission. Free advertising for Oliver's right here too. You're so good. I love getting you before games and your sandwiches and whatever the heck else you've got. So go to Oliver's in Roanoke Park, Cotati, right before a game, Ranch Cotati, and then watch that also Savannah Walleye. It was worth every single penny of gas, food, tickets, whatever it is. But are there any other players, athletes you're really looking at and have on your radar so far?
Yeah, I'm going to look at defensively. Shea O'Kelly, he's really a star talent out there in Sacred Heart Prep. He spearheads an incredible defense that just shut down Reardon, a team, like I've mentioned before, with a great offense, held no running clock, and they put up 35. He's got 10 tackles for loss, and he's averaging just under 10 tackles a game. For Defensive Player of the Year, I want to touch on him. He seems like an early candidate, especially with what he's got going.
Yes, he does. He's done a great job. Over 30 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. I just watched him Saturday. The stats are real. You can trust me on that. The stats are real, and his play is just that good. And his film was just that good. He's somebody that's up there. Landon Hurd, I know, has 3 interceptions at Los Gatos. Those two teams play each other tomorrow, which is probably a great segue into our predictions and games to watch for this weekend. Let's do it right now. Los Gatos, Sacred Heart Prep. If you check on Max Preps, it is officially correct. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff Friday at Sacred Heart Prep. How do you see this game going out there in Atherton?
It's a tough one. That defense versus that tough offense. Los Gatos is coming off a bye. They have wins over Live Oak and Liberty. They did lose to one of Orange County's toughest teams in Corona Del Mar, but I like Los Gatos for this one. That offense, the running back, Mejia is just a great athlete. I'm going with Los Gatos. I love SHP. I love that defense. I love what they've got down there, but I just like Los Gatos too much.
Yeah, me too. I really like what Sacred Heart Prep has. Those Gatos, it's hard for me to pick against them. In most games, they've lost one regular season game the last 3 years. It's hard for me to see them losing for a while this season. I think Los Gatos does win a close one. Emiliano Mejia is tough, but this is going to be, I think, a 1-score game out there in Atherton. And another one, you just got to get into it right now. De La Salle, home against Folsom. Last year, there were some crazy games. You were at that NorCal championship game. What are the keys on this one?
It's really going to be defense. It's going to be the air attack. Folsom's defense had 4 interceptions against one of the toughest quarterbacks in the entire country. Their defense was sharp. It held a prolific Pitt offense, just 15 points. Austin Mack, 6'5" quarterback. He's really good. Walker Lyons was his leg, but Mason Norberg is an impressive player. Rico Flores, and so many other guys they've got. One second. There's one guy I want to touch on Folsom. It is Greco Carrillo. He did a great job last week of covering Rashid Williams. Rashid Williams made some tough catches. Every one of them was impressive, but you got to love what Greco Carrillo did, especially on the defensive side of the ball for Folsom. But De La Salle, they need to execute that veer. We'll see if they can do that with their quarterback and all those athletes.
Yeah, I think De La Salle wins this one. It's going to be close, though. De La Salle is going to win another 1-score game. These teams have always played fun ones. Last year was a fun one. De La Salle wins at Folsom, and Folsom comes back to Concord, wins at Owen Owens Field, which is where this game is again, 7 p.m. Friday. Matt Fair is going to be at that game at Concord. How about some rivalry football early on in the season, too? In Pleasanton, the Battle of Pleasanton was a crazy game last year when Amador went up 14-0 early. Foothill scored 21 of the game's next 24 points, went 21-17 after Nick Walsh hit Noah Lombardi on a touchdown with just over 3 minutes left. The whole city of Pleasanton is going to be at Foothill High School on Friday night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Battle of Pleasanton is always a fun one. With Amador Valley, you have a building culture. You've got Brady Nasir and all those other guys, and Nasir is a Colorado commit. As for Foothill, they lose a lot of pieces from last year. That great game manager and Matt Walsh, and Nick Walsh, but so many other guys you've got out there. It's Jackson Chandler's really good, and Keith Millard, Jake Patterson too. He led the team in tackles last year, so really impressive.
Yeah, Jake Patterson, like you mentioned, great on defense, led the team in tackles. Caden Millard, 21 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss. Graham Zanders played well. He leads the team in tackles with Millard. Hayden Howard's got 4.5 tackles for loss, 19 tackles. Samir Laddie is a great player on both sides of the ball. Jackson Chandler, I know, missed a couple of games. For that, though, he was averaging 16.5 yards per carry. Amador Valley's got Miles Tucker. You've got Brady Nasser. He's a Colorado commit. You got James Rothstein at tight ends. I think I'm picking Amador Valley this time around. I'm going to go Amador Valley wins this game by a field goal on Foothill's home turf.
Same here. I just think Foothill lost so much, especially with Walsh. Nick Walsh is a great game manager, high IQ, makes some smart plays. I know you have Chris Lawson, one of the best receivers in the class of 25, but you lose him. You lose Kenny Olson. He's now at Cal Poly. You lose Noah Lombardi. You lose Tony Scalacci. You have some room to grow, but I think Amador Valley, they're really growing and they're going to be more competitive in both sides of the EVL. So I'm going to pick them too.
Now there's some big games in the South Bay. We're just going to start off right now with Wilcox against Menlo Atherton. Wilcox defense against this Menlo Atherton offense. Where's this game go? Who wins this ball game?
That Wilcox defense is really tough, and they have some good line play. They have a 6'7", 300-pound lineman named Justin Halkema. He's really big, really tough up front, and that defense and that secondary is really impressive for Wilcox. They have a solid offense, especially on the ground. Palacios is a great running back, but I got to pick Menlo Atherton. Jurion Dickey, Billy Johnson, he's really growing quarterback. Jaden Moss is the younger brother of Jalen Moss at Fresno State. You got to like what they've got. I know they lose to Del Oro, but Del Oro is 5-0, and they're a tough team out there.
Yeah, Del Oro's beaten great teams this season. They beat Clayton Valley, beat Menlo Atherton. I'm with Menlo Atherton in this game. I think MA wins this game. It's going to be a fun one, though. Alec Marshall, a sleeper 6'7" tight end prospect. That's a hard guy to cover at any level. Especially when you're 6'7" in high school. He's athletic, 6'7", 210, good hands, everything else. I think MA wins a close one on Wilcox's home turf. Now, how about St. Francis against Sarah? Rematch of some crazy games last year in that CCS championship. Keys to this game, how does this whole thing shape up?
I just think it's going to be about adjustments with, St. Francis and Sarah. Patrick Walsh is a great adjuster. In the first half of the De La Salle St. Francis game, I was at St. Francis played some really tough defense against De La Salle. Had they not, it would have been a running clock easily by the end of the third quarter. They were that tough. They've got Matt Doherty, Andrew Atkinson, and so many guys. You lose that great line and a lot of good running backs like Viliami Teu. But that record's deceiving, that 1-2 record. They lose to some really good football teams within Monterey Trail and De La Salle. Overall, I just like Sarah too much. Patrick Walsh, Malachi Smith. I can't pick against them.
Yeah, that's hard for me to pick against Sarah. What Patrick Walsh has done this year, again, this whole team has done. They beat De La Salle, they beat Folsom. I think Sarah wins a big one out there in Mountain View to stay unbeaten, go to 4-0 and open up WCAL play as the favorites once again to win that league. And then there's Sacred Heart Cathedral against Mitty. Mitty 3-0 after going 1-9 last season. SHC 2-1. They've beaten Sacred Heart Prep by 1 point. This is another really fantastic West Catholic Athletic League opener.
It's going to be a battle down there in Kezar Stadium. I know Palma did lose to Mitty. Mitty beat them, and Palma did beat Sacred Heart Cathedral, but I think it's gonna be a lot closer. But in the end, I think Mitty wins it with all that talent they've got. They've got a Claremont Mechanic commit, a Sacramento State commit. They've got good quarterback play with Will Towers. You gotta like what they got. Yeah,
you do. I'm liking this game. I'm gonna pick Sacred Heart Cathedral. No, I think Sacred Heart Cathedral, Kezar Stadium. That's gonna be a rocking atmosphere. SHC gets a 3-1, and Midi will be 3-1 as well after this one, I'm projecting. But it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a close one. I like the athletes and coaches both teams have, so this should be another great one. Now, before we wrap this podcast up, one more game we're going to pick. Liberty at home against San Ramon Valley. We mentioned San Ramon Valley 3-0, playing great football. Liberty just picked up a big 37-13 win over Monte Vista last Friday.
I can't pick against San Ramon Valley. Too much talent there, well coached. Liberty knows respect with Mike Cable, Nate Bell, Deuce Carr, Searcy. It's just too much for them. San Ramon Valley is just too talented. Great coaching. They're a well-coached unit, and they have good play designs, good air attack, good ground attack. Gavin Jones, Luke Baker, he's committed to St. Clair for baseball. I got to go with San Ramon Valley.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I think Laird Wheeler and this offensive line are going to have a big day, creating holes and giving Baker plenty of time. John Powell Mendoza also had a big game last week. Great player on the grounds. I'm with you. San Ramon Valley wins this football game. Everybody, that wraps it up for this edition of the West Coast Preps podcast. I thank you all for listening once again, and Noah for always hopping on. The legend of Bay Area High School sports, Noah Glosson. You can follow Noah on social media. You can follow West Coast Preps on social media at West Coast Preps _. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, and our website. Everybody take care, stay safe, and be sure to tune into our Twitter space as well Friday night. And if you missed that, we'll have that recording up on our podcast network too. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.